morning. My name is Alan Harrison, and I'm going to talk to you about deviceless dowsing. First, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I learned to douse in about 1979 right here in this church at the ASD Dowsing School. I came up here because I was interested in treasure hunting. I look for coins with metal detectors, so that makes me a treasure hunter. And through reading things about treasure hunting, I began to read about people who said that you could find things, coins, treasures at great distances. And I was curious about that, and I sent away my dollar or my postage or whatever it was. And I got back information about treasure hunting devices that were talking about dowsing, and they were also talking about, and they were talking almost 20 years ago, you were talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And I said, well, gee, if these guys know about dowsing, they must have found out about it somewhere, and I'm going to try and figure out where. So I started reading books. And I went to the library, and there really weren't good books. There were books on, I looked for books that had dowsing references in them. There were books on occult science, there were books on, witchcraft, there were some books on radiation, magnetism, and things, and all of these books were interesting. I read all kinds of interesting things, but none of them tell me how to douse. And as you know, some of you might know, if you've seen some of these devices, they're basically L-rods, chrome-plated L-rods of one type or another. And quite by accident, in one of the books I read, there was a reference to the American Society of Dowsers. And I had no idea where they were or who they were, but it sounded like they should know about dowsing. So I went to the library, and I asked the librarian, was there any way to find this organization? And she proceeded to give me a book this thick. And I think it's called the something's Registry of Societies. And it was in there. And it had the name and address of the organization and the secretary at that time, Ray Willie. And unknown to me, I had Ray Willie's book, Modern Dowsing. I'm talking to him on the phone. It was a little before September that year, and he said, oh yeah, we can teach you how to douse. We have a school. And you should come up and go to the school. And I believe the school was $25 at that time. It's probably almost 15 years ago, approximately. And the other things I had been reading in the treasure hunting magazines, people running schools for hundreds and thousands of dollars. And I said, well, let's go. So my wife and I got in a car and we came up here that year and we learned how to douse right here. And how I got into deviceless dowsing was actually right out here on the green and on the first day of the school. Until I had come to the school, I really didn't know if I could douse. I had read some books and was getting closer to books about dowsing, like I said, Ray Willie's book, Modern Dowsing. But I didn't know if I was really getting reactions. I had never met another dowser really who could show me or tell me or anything. And when I got to school here and somebody showed me, I was able to find spots that they were saying immediately with whatever instrument it was. I was able to get a good reaction. So we were out on the green at one of the sessions in the school, and people were asking me, and I don't know why, because I was just came up here, if I would help them find a spot since I was doing so well. And you're all familiar with the technique of, say, with a wire rod where I hold one, we hold hands, you hold the other arm of the wire rod, and we walk along, and the person who doesn't get good reactions will then feel a reaction with the instrument going down. Everybody familiar with that? Well, we were doing that to people, and there was a gentleman there who was, I always remember this, he was parked in a blue van, he was camping in the van, there was a mattress on the floor, he was sleeping in the van, and he had seen this Open 101, and we had been talking briefly before, he had seen I had a metal detector out, and messing around with that out on the green, but I had decided immediately after getting here and seeing the town of Danville that to start looking for coins in Danville Green was not a good idea. As careful as I am, I didn't think, if I thought thought something was there, that I should take my hunting knife out and go digging in the granite. It just didn't look like a good idea, since this place to me looked like it absolutely grew off of a postcard somewhere. So he came out of his van in one of the breaks in the first session and said, "You're doing pretty good at this. I see you helping everybody." Okay? He said, would you try something with me? And I said, well, sure, I'll try anything. That's why I'm here. And he said, would you take and hold one end of my imaginary water rod? and he standing there and he said, "It's a big one." and I said, "Sure, why not?" You know, I mean, why not? You know, I mean, because really, we come up here originally and I didn't know what we were going to find here, or who was going to be here, or who had their saucer parked out in the back lot, you know. We had no idea. But, you know, I will say that when I got here, I was very amazed. Like I said, this was about 78 or 79, at just, the nice people were here. They were all very, you know, homegrown, very down-to-earth people. I was really, really impressed when we got here with the people. But anyway, so he's got this big imaginary big one, big. And he says, "Here, take one end of it and hold my hand, and I'm going to hold the other end. And let's walk around on the green here, and you tell me when this big one goes down." And what do I know? So we go walking along, and I'm holding this. Now remember, it's big, so I'm imagining and I'm holding on to this big thing, you know. So I've got this hand, and I've got his hand, and I'm walking along. And lo and behold, I get to a spot, and I start to get sensations in my hand and in my arm. Kind of like tingling, electricity, magnetic, whatever you want to say it is, but I feel it in my arm and my hand. And I said, "Well, I think it's going to go down here." So he says, "Okay, now go get whatever instrument and see if there's something there that you can find." So I go to the spot. Sure enough, there's, you know, what they're teaching me is there's a word name here. So he says, "So you don't need any of these instruments. They don't do anything. You're the one who was doing the dowsing. You are it." And then he was there for a couple of days, and we were messing around with this and helping everybody and just learning and watching Boyd and Gordon chase veins around on the... And that was new to me, too. Here's, you know, there's wind banging on an iron bar saying the water's going that way now. You know, we were just overwhelmed with all kinds of new stuff. And we're doing all this. And from that is where I got into this. Every opportunity I got, I started to think about, well, wait a minute, you know. Because, and you got to realize that from treasure hunting and these devices and the claims made from them, you know, about that they're more sensitive and they're more powerful. I was, one side of me said, "Hey, you know, you need one of these. You know, you need one of these." And the other side of me said, "Well, wait a minute now, you know, these guys are using them on coat hangers, and they're using, you know, and for handles, they're using all big pen sleeves." Something wasn't registering right, and when he showed me that, you know, he really made it clear to me that none of this hardware does anything. It's we receive the information. And don't get me wrong, I love hardware. I collect things, as long as they're not too expensive. And there is a limit. And here I have in my pocket now, I have this guy, the Aurameter, and it's great. It's too much money, but it's a lot of fun. It's very visual, and I love it. All in the same breath. So, and I have a pendulum in my pocket, and you know, so I love the hardware. I'm not telling you to throw your hardware away. What I'm the purpose of me doing this is to tell you that we receive the information. It's like we're the meter, but this is the needle. Okay? And you don't always have to have the needle on the meter. It doesn't matter. So, and that's how this all started, and this is how it goes. And then there's a couple techniques I've got to get this. If you're not aware that this is happening, I think I've got a couple techniques that can maybe help you realize that this is going on, because this is what's going on. And there are many more techniques than I know, and there is no right way, and there is no wrong way. As in dowsing, there is no right way and there is no wrong way. It doesn't matter. And so now I want everybody to say, there is no right way, there is no wrong way, and more important, say, it doesn't matter. because in every lecture somebody says, well, it goes to the left for me, or it goes to the right for me. Well, it doesn't matter as long as it goes. And it doesn't matter if, when we get to starting this, that you get it in your hand or your ankle, or it's hot or it's cold, or it's up or it's down. It doesn't matter. And as long as you remember that, we won't have a lot of questions, and nobody will be able to hear on the tape. So, the first one that I learned was the imaginary wire rod. And the key to doing this is while you take, let me put this down. While you take the stance of having a wire rod in your hands, I found the key to this is when you don't have one, you tend to exaggerate the stance. And that bending over your hand tightens all these muscles and tendons and whatnot. And I think that's the key to bringing this out, is because when you tighten all these things and you get into the field of the target, and it doesn't matter whether the target is a water vein or yesterday's talk, I used the back of the chair as a target, and one lady said to me, but that target doesn't have anything, it's like, anything. So I said, but no, you're wrong. It's a target, and the fact that it is a target means that when you get to the target, that it's there. Okay? Does everybody understand? I don't know if I'm being clear, but so it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're working on a map or you're working on something on the other side of the world while we stand right here, you should. I hope you are all familiar with the concepts that I'm trying to explain to you. So, but to get this to come out, the first thing I did, and the first thing I want all you to do if you want is, there's a good vein here. Now I'm not going to be concerned with what it is, or where it goes, or how deep it is, or if it's, which way it's going. Just for the purpose of this demonstration, I think if you douse, and could I have somebody want to volunteer and walk this spot? Anybody? Somebody? You want to volunteer someone? Anybody? Just douse with an instrument. You have something, Richard? Take a rod. And there's a good strong vein. I hope. Okay. Okay. There's a good strong vein here. We might perceive it in a little different place. Orometer is very lively. It comes up early.
How would your orometer show the concept? What does your orometer?
Orometer just, for me,
Does it show?
okay, the question is, how does the orometer show it? And this talk isn't about the orometer, but I tell you, for me, any instrument that goes into action is the indication, the positive, the yes, the whatever. So it goes, okay? And it's not the orometer that's doing this; it's me that's moving the orometer. I mean, that's how my belief system works. Okay, you'll hear guys say that the rod turned so hard that it blistered their hands. Well, for me, it's because it's of the muscle contractions and whatever that they're doing. If you analyze my hand real carefully, even though it's a subconscious thing, my wrist is moving, and I know that. Now, if that's not the way it works for you, I don't want to get into, if you think that this thing moves, okay, and Richard picked it up a little further up ahead than I do. This orometer is real, goes instantly as I walk into the field. I'm not going to even figure out how wide this thing is. Some people are edge dowsers. Some people are center of the target dowsers. I mean, but basically there is a real good strong target here. So that's what I want to do. And then what I'd like you to do, we don't have too many here if you want, is I'll show you how that I translate this into the imaginary target. I found that the key to this feeling was the tension. So what I do is I bend my hand back as far as I can without causing any pain. And then, now, we don't even need a target now. And then I find if you extend your arm out and maintain a little backward pressure with your fingers, you will feel that tension in your arm. And like I say, I describe it as a humming, electricity, maybe even, you know, how when you get around a really powerful magnet, you feel kind of I feel like it hums. Okay, that's for me. It might be different for you. It might be hot, it might be cold, but there's something. You can force that feeling. So now I find that if you set that up with your hand back and some tension in all this structure, and then you proceed into the field of a target, that without you forcing a lot, that this feeling is very intensified all by itself. It's like 3-4 times as strong. It's not uncomfortable, but you don't have to force it now. And anytime if you push out hard and bend back far, you'll get that same sort of feeling. But for me, it's much different. I don't have to force, and I come right into this energy field of the target, and it's, you know, it comes alive.
You feel it in both hands?
Well, the question is, do I feel it in both hands? I typically reach out with this one. I don't know why. I can do it with this one just as easily. Okay? Everybody say it doesn't matter. Okay? And I encourage you, get up and try it. Go ahead. Especially because now it's visual. The question is, typically we translate this all into yes or no, correct? So a response is the positive that yes, there is the target here. I am for this Woodard vane, I am over the target now. When the signal comes to life. Okay? If I was using strictly an instrument to find this, I would walk up the aisle, and when I get to the target, the Woodard vane, I want the instrument to go down. So in this case, I want the feeling to come alive.
I was thinking about
Well, the question is about more information. In dowsing, more information is always derived from a series of yes/no questions. If you think about it, everything comes down to a yes or a no, or a positive or a negative. So, you know, is this more than 50 feet deep? That's a yes or a no. The same as I do with a device. Is this, you know, now I'm on the target, is this more than 50 feet deep? If I get no reaction, it's the same as standing there with a rod and saying, you know, however you do it, it's the same. You're looking for the feedback. Is everybody clear on that?
When you're asking for a yes or no, you get the same feeling.
Yeah, I don't ask for no's. The question is, is the feeling the same when you ask for yes or no? I don't usually ask for no's with any device. I'm looking for the yeses. If the device does not move, I assume it's a no. Meaning I am not in the target, so that's not the correct answer. You know, everything, if you think about it, translates to on or off, yes or no.
I think my hand's stuck cool.
Every question.
But over distance, I don't.
Only in the case of some people who do, they can tell by the strength of the reaction. Okay, that's their own system, but I think everybody will agree that basically you are translating everything into a positive or a negative and a yes and a
When you
no.
go over here on the shoulder.
Yes, sir. I can't hear you.
Good. You try it with me?
I don't know. The question was about I think also that just because you're sticking your hand out, you don't that's important. Just because you're sticking your hand and your arm out does not necessarily mean that you will get this in your hand or in your arm. It doesn't matter. It's different from everyone. Say this stuff. Okay. It's different for everyone. Everybody say that.
It's different for everybody.
Okay, if you remember that, I'm asking you to stick your hand out now. But it's very possible that you will get a reaction somewhere else. And that's the other key to developing this. See, the reason I want you to even do this is, like I said, not to throw your tools away. I think that this is how dowsing works anyway. You are getting the information. But dowsing and people in the beginning are a very visual thing. People are dowsing, you are looking for your device to react, okay? So you're not paying attention to what's going on inside of the other, but you are receiving the information. You're looking for that visual thing, okay? And if you concentrate constantly on this visual thing, and you're really working on watching, you're not going to let the information flow and come in. And I think that the first step into, you all must be aware of, there are some people up here that when you start telling them about, yeah, I was working on a property over in Timbuktu, and, out behind the garage. You ever talk to some of the old masters around here and start telling them about that, and they start to know information about a place that they couldn't possibly have been, but they start feeding back to you information like they've been there on the property and they know that you're talking about behind the garage. Is everybody familiar with that? Talk to some of the old timers around here, and you'll start to see that some of them just have a sense for what the site is you're talking about. And I think the way they develop that sense is they let the information come in. And they're dousing. There's a couple of old timers around here that douse with pendulums. And there's one in particularly that I think of. He's not here. Terry Ross douses with a pendulum most of the time. And he stands there and he swings the pendulum. And I'm looking, and over the years I would watch him and I go, well, where's the yeses and where's the nos? What? It's got nothing to do with him swinging the pendulum. The answer is he's perceiving the answers with his self. And there's a whole bunch of levels to do that on, whether you feel it, and then the next step is you start to know. Questions? Yes.
And your device is technique, okay, so you've located, you're looking for a stream of water, you located one here to get the devices safe. Okay, do you use the same procedure to then, or do you ask how much water, how deep, or which direction is flowing? Can you
Yeah, okay. The question is, so now we found the target. Now, do we do the rest of the job with deviceless? Well, the answer would be, sure, why not? Okay, and I don't mean to be, this isn't a basic course. Although this is one of the most basic things, this isn't a basic course on how to do it well. I'm just trying to tell you I'm actually telling you how to advance your perception. If you care to do this at all, you will find that you will be getting information faster that it took some people all their lives to get to the point of where they know. I told you, in the beginning, people are visual. They want to see the rods. And then, if you just go the natural progression and nobody messes you up like me by telling you this stuff, eventually you'll start to feel things. This is my theory. I think, some other people, hold on a second, have another theory. And then I think the next progression is that you start to, and I'm not sure which is which or if they're the same, you start to see things in your mind. And that is coupled with you know things. And for me, I monkeyed around with this in a couple of different ways to do this, which I'll tell you about. If this one didn't work for you, there's more ways. Some are simple, some are ridiculously simple. But the next thing that happened to me, I work in a school every year. And in a bunch of the years, they gave me students who were having very slow reactions, or they perceived themselves to having no reaction. So they pull them aside and give them to me to troubleshoot. Okay? So I always need a strong motor vein to practice on. So I grab whatever, in the school, usually an L rod or an angle rod. And I don't. I need a good strong one. And I don't care what or how or why. I need something real good, strong, so that somebody have a wire rod I could grab, or an angle rod. Okay, 2 angle rods. I need a good, strong reaction, and I get my reaction. Thank you. But I started to find that about a step away, something, and I don't know whether it's a thought or it's a voice, I'm not sure, it's really hard to pin down. I get this, here it comes. Like here it comes. And then the next step, the rod swing. And in the beginning, I resisted, just like the students in the school. We had students that are walking with a wire rod, and they're saying nothing. across the target area, and the rod quivers. And then I tell them the rod's quivering, and they say, "Oh, that's bouncing around because I'm walking." But you know, I've looked at a lot of students do this, and the rod quivers. And then you find I take their hand and we do the together routine, which is somebody got a wire rod? I wanted a wire rod. Oh, yeah, okay. And now we need a volunteer. You, sir. You're volunteer. Take that side of it. Other hand. Yeah, give me your hand. And I assume you're a dowser.
Let me try it.
But just for the effect, let's go find it, so everybody's clear that this is the technique of showing a student what it feels like. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I would find that the students, I find that the students would resist it going down. On my side, the thing wants to twist. On their side, it's almost sometimes twisting back. Well, for whatever reason, they were resisting it. Now, most of the time it's because they're not confident that, you know, this is the place, and they don't let the rod swing down. Some of them, somewhere, subconsciously, somebody told them, you know, you can't do this stuff, you shouldn't do this stuff. I have a dear friend who's very deep in their beliefs, who says to me, you know, you really shouldn't do this stuff because their belief tells them that it comes from the power of the devil, and they quote me something that says man should not do godlike acts, or something like this. And you know, dear friend, they're very deep in their beliefs. It's got nothing to do with any of that, you know. It's something we're able to do. But I find the students resisting, and if I work on them enough and say you're resisting. Well, the same thing with this, here it comes. Or the feelings you're getting that you're not paying attention to, and if you do start to pay attention, you doubt them because you resist it. No, I can't be doing this without the hardware. I can't, and then state, yeah, here it is. Whether it's real important, like for somebody to order well, or whether you're trying to find somebody's lost keys. People resist. So I find if you don't resist, and you go, hey, here it comes. Now, when I'm teaching in the school, it isn't real important. There's nothing hanging in the balance, whether I'm right or wrong. But I began to find, because I was doing this dozens of times in a day, need a van, and here it comes. And then I started paying attention to it. And here it comes. So, I've also had some glimpses. Now, I don't really get to douse a lot. I live down near Philadelphia. I own an auto repair shop. I'm busy fixing cars, which is really easy for me to do. And people ask me, do you douse cars? And I go, well, once in a while, I've had some electrical things. I didn't have any idea where to look. So I'll sometimes I use my hand. Sometimes I'll grab a metal coat hanger. And I'll go looking for where should I start to look for this electrical problem and all that stuff. But where I am, I don't get a chance to do a lot of wells because I'm right near the city. And the guys in our chapters are due or retired, and somebody calls them, they just drop what they're doing and they go. And I'm busy at my shop trying to make a few bucks. And so I don't get to do a lot of wells. And I don't get to practice as much as I want to. But I'll tell you this, I have had some glimpses into full visual things that I was dousing. Okay? And get a glimpse, and for me, I'm not sure. It's just like I can see what it is, just like I'm there looking at it. And I've gotten some of these little glimpses, and I feel for myself that if I worked at it more and had more use for it and worked at it more, that I get more and more of these glimpses of, like I explained to you when I talked to the old masters, I call them, and you say, hey, I'm talking about, I had a problem on this property, I was dousing for this, and I wasn't sure what I was getting. And they said, well, yeah, you were over by the fence there, and I didn't tell them about the fence. I didn't tell them about the tree, and they had it all. And you wonder, where does this come from? Well, it comes from a lot of trust in what you're getting, and it comes from a lot of practice and experience. Okay. So now I'm going to give you another one that's a little different to do. Can everybody visualize a pendulum swinging in whatever your neutral or your search swing is? Everybody do that? I hope so. Either with your eyes open or your eyes closed, it doesn't matter. You can picture your pendulum swinging in a neutral swing. Now, it's there swinging away, and it's neutral, and it's in your search position, whatever it is for you. Now visualize for me that it's showing you your yes, your positive, you know, that you got your answer. So for me, it starts swinging clockwise, but not in my hands here. I have this pendulum that hangs up here someplace. And I can see that, and anytime I want to look at it, I just look at the imaginary pendulum. And it's swinging away neutral. And an example of that is, go into the supermarket, and somebody told me a long time ago that, you know, you can, if you need a melon or a grapefruit or whatever it is, you can pick a good one by dowsing. Okay? So now, if you don't want to take out, you know, a rod or take out your pendulum in the market and risk them coming with a net and a white jacket, okay, you pick up the melon, you do everything else they taught you, you snip the edge, you shake the thing, you thump on it, and when, you know, and usually when you get home, who knows what you got anyway. So you do the last thing is you want to douse it. Is this one going to be right for today? So I look for my imaginary pendulum. And whatever it tells me, that's what I go with. If it's swinging positive, I go, hey, this must be a good one. Are they always? I don't know, you know. But if you want to douse it, use the imaginary pendulum. And if you start to do it, you know, somebody says, what else do you use it for? I said, well, when I'm driving up here and excessive speeds on 91, you know, I'll say to myself, is it clean and green? And to me, that's something I hear the truckers say sometimes on a CB, you know, that there's no cops on the road. So I'll ask myself, is it clean and green? And if I get yes, I'll go a little faster. And if I get no, I slow down. And I've been lucky so far, so that's all I can tell you. So that's another technique, no device. Can everybody visualize a pendulum? Can everybody try it? See, it's really very simple. The key to doing this for yourself is to think about the device and how it works. And either, as with the big wire rod, which started that, you can try that too. Not only, I found that this worked, but the sensing was a little better than walking around like this. And it seems to come alive just as good as doing that like this. You know, you'll notice that I was saying that you take any device, you could do it with an angle rod. You could, if you're real comfortable with angle rods, and angle rods are your tool, you could tell me when the angle rods swing, be it in or out, or whatever they do for you. Okay? And I think you'll find the same thing, that holding them, and because they're not there, you're going to tend to grip a little tighter. And you're going to set up that tension in your muscles. And for whatever the reason is, tense muscles react real good to this stuff. They don't have to be, though. But it's real easy, because you can be relaxed, and I can still walk into a field and say, hey, there's that feeling. Okay, question?
Do you find you need to close your eyes to visualize the pendulum or the angle bar?
No.
You can visualize it with your eyes open?
Yeah. Yeah, I have to, driving at 90 miles an hour. I put the 91 signs meant go 90 coming up here, so, you know, I can do it that way. Maybe in the beginning I couldn't, I don't know, but I think the more you just look for it, it's just think about pendulum. You think about a lot of things during the day with your eyes open, but you don't think about thinking about it. I mean, if you stop and think, you'll realize that while you're doing other things, that you are getting pictures anyway of things that you're thinking about that you have to do. You're getting pictures anyway. Maybe you don't realize it, but stop and think about it. And now you'll realize that you get pictures all the time. Now maybe you're just unconscious of it. But question.
Do you feel stronger in your deviceless dowsing doing it amongst children?
I tell you the truth, I haven't really set out to talk to kids about this. The thing I know about kids is, if you show them, they usually can instantly do, because they don't know that this is not, you're not supposed to be able to do this. They don't care what somebody else thinks of what they're doing. You know, they don't have all this subconscious, you know, unless somebody's got a hold of them and told them all kinds of crazy things, you know. But the normal carefree kid, you show them, hey, look, there's water here, and you can find it, and it goes like this. Almost everyone I've ever showed that to. I told the story the other day. I was in the town hall, and there was a mother and her little kid, about 4 or 5 years old, I guess, just old enough to, the little boy who wanted to touch everything and pick up everything. She was looking at the books, he was looking at all the rods and the plastic and the angle rods. Picked it up, she said, put that there. You know, she's looking at all the books and touching them and picking them up and showing them a good example. And when he picks up the stuff, put that down, put that down. So I showed him. I picked up a set of, I don't remember actually, but we'll say angle rods, and I said, see what happens when you get near the water? They go like this. Gave them to the kid, and he walked right up to, there's 2 real good spots in the town hall in front of the sales table. One of them I learned on, and they worked. The kid did it instantly. He's going, Mom, look at this. She goes, put that down. And so that little kid, you know, I have 2 girls, about 7 and 10 now. They can do it. You know, they think that, you know, Dad's a nut, but they can do it when I give them something to do, but they don't care. You know, they don't care. But they can do it, and you know, they're sometimes better than me. And, you know, and sometimes I'll give one of them, and I'll say, here, go here and see if you can find the water. You know, see if they get it, to see if I'm right. Because they don't know they shouldn't be doing this. You know, a lot of us up here, for whatever, for religious or just for social pressure or whatever, have things in our subconscious that are saying, you shouldn't do this, or this doesn't really work, or whatever. And, you know, those subconscious things can really do you in. Questions?
It's called lack of inhibition.
Yeah. Gentleman's comment is it's called lack of inhibition. Let me see what we were talking about. We did the imaginary pendulum. Not Ted.
Clients, paying clients, unlike kids, don't pull this on. You got to show them instruments
Yes.
that they're going to pay you.
Ted's comment
And 2 or
is
3, and give them a demonstration.
Ted's comment is very good to take it that while there are times when you might not want somebody to see you dousing, like when you're picking your grapefruit out in the market, there are times when you might be going out to douse a well for someone where they absolutely need, must have, and are expecting what I'll call the dog and pony show. And you know, if you would go there and go, okay, that's the spot, that, you know, even though they've hired you, they might think you're a little crazy anyway, but they're not going to want to pay you because you didn't do anything. But if you go through the motions and you get out your instruments and you bring them and you take that, good point, Dave. Then you take your clients or whoever, if you're doing this for a friend, doesn't matter who, and you take them and you show them, look, this is the dousing reaction, and you give them some tools and you let them do it. They'll feel a whole lot better about you doing this because then everybody should be able to do this if they don't resist. Even in the school, even the resistors that I get in school, they're getting real good reactions now, and they're still not sure. But everybody is able to do this as far as I'm concerned, and probably everybody else is concerned. But there are times when you absolutely need to. I said before, I'm not telling you to throw your tools away. What I'm really trying to tell you is that if you look inward to this, you will find that your accuracy will get better because you'll be perceiving the information not just in watching your devices go, but you'll be using the whole instrument, which is you. And you know, I hope this will take away some of the doubts and things. And you'll find you have to look in. When you use any instrument, the key to this is look inside and see what's going on. Somewhere in your person or in yourself, whatever, or however you want to look at it, something is usually going on. It can be the voice, it can be pictures, it can be hot, it can be cold, it can be a muscle that gets tight. I'm trying to remember what people in every lecture say to me, well, this happens for me, is that all right? And that's why I said, everybody say, it doesn't matter, okay? Because they always ask me, you know, the hair stands up on the back of my neck, the hot, the cold. There's a story that kicks around here for years about the old gentleman who, when he got to the water vein, locked up. And the story goes, they told it to me right here on the green. They said they had to pick him up and move him. And then he would unlock. Now, I never did find out if this happened to him just walking down the street or when he set out to find water. I really hope it didn't happen to him when he was walking down the street because he's like this water main here, and I got a strong one, I got it, it's here. Okay? I'm not, well, let me check this here. But the more you check, now you're inputting all these things, well, maybe it's not here. And the more you check, once you go past that initial answer, now you're in trouble, because now you're taking into what you think on a conscious level. And then maybe on a subconscious level too. Now this is where the doubts and the fears and you know, well, this can't be 100 feet deep. Well, why not? You know? You know, you're in the gray area here as it is. So why get more bad answers than you need? Okay? So that's the key to dowsing. Take your first answer and stick to your guns. You might be right, you might be wrong, there might be reasons that you don't, you know, you're not aware of, information you don't have, but that's that. And the same thing with this. If you get the feeling, and then you can associate it, I'm not telling you not to check with an instrument, it's fine. To say, here it comes, and then have an instrument, or to say, yeah, and then go, yeah, I was right. You know? There's nothing wrong with doing that, but I mean to go, am I right? Am I wrong? You know, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the doubt. Little healthy practice is never a problem. Another thing in practicing, if you can get over a target that you know is real, being a pipe that you know where it goes in the ground on your property, and you can go stand over a pipe and douse it with an instrument and then look for it in some deviceless form. And you know it's there, maybe you can go to the end of the ditch and see it come out, a metal culvert pipe or something, and then you can walk over it. If you can practice in that fashion, and that sends a message to your brain that that's something that you absolutely know is there. And I believe that records that information that, you know, this is a metal pipe. I can do this over a metal pipe. That positive confirmation is a little better than even an old master telling you, look, here's a good strong vein, it's 100 feet deep, it flows 10 gallons a minute, see how that feels. Now, you know, I have faith in that. But in the beginning, I'll tell you the truth, I didn't. You know, we were running around in the green, and they're saying, there's a water main here. I was the kind of guy that said, well, you're going to dig it up. So, you know, if you can get to something that you can confirm, you can even walk underneath wires. You know, wires coming across to your house. And go, I'm here now. And look up and say, yeah, you know, I am here. And when you do that, that records it in your brain somewhere. This is my theory. That, you know, that's something you can absolutely confirm. You can stick a Coke bottle on the floor and walk up to it and douse it. You know, as long as you record something you absolutely know in your heart is there, I think when that records that helps you tremendously. And along with this deviceless stuff. So if you know where something is and you go and check it, same thing. Let me think what else. Any other questions? Man.
When you're just doing your ordinary life, walking around, are you picking up this energy, or is it only when you're really concentrating on it?
Okay, the question is, when you're walking around in your ordinary life, am I picking up, or is anybody picking up this stuff? I would say yes. And the way I can best explain that is, have you ever had when you walk into a room and somebody's there and you get a bad feeling? Okay. Well, that is the same thing. You know, and then you find out that maybe that's a bad person, or that's just somebody you don't want to be associated with. For whatever reason, you know, they make you uncomfortable. Well, that's the same thing that you are conscious of. But on the other hand, I would say for me, no, I don't walk around and go, walk down the street, oh, there's a pipe, and there's a sewer line. I think you could. I think if you practice real hard, I think that you could get this to where you go crazy. Okay? And I think you have to have control of it. Because no, when I walk up the aisle of the church here and I'm not searching for the target, no, it's not. You know, I don't perceive it. It's just something that it's turned off now. Although it's probably never off. But you know, if you're really convenient, geez, every weekend you're driving on the road, you go crazy, and maybe that's why some people have gone crazy, because they are not, you know, they're overloaded. If you think about that, you know, maybe they get, you know, people hear voices. You ever wonder what, you know, You ever think about that? Well, maybe they're just receiving a lot of information and they just can't handle it. And they don't know how to turn it off so that they can just be what we call normal, whatever that is. Ted?
This is where the word mindset comes in. Mindset, I'm looking for this. Mindset, I don't want to hear about nothing. Very simple.
Ted said that this is where mindset comes in. Mindset that I'm looking for this, and the other mindset is I'm not looking for this. I don't want to hear about it. So it's something that you should have conscious control over. I don't think it's a problem. Question?
Just kind of getting on the term target, I think you just answered it now. I think the target is mindset. So essentially what you're doing is whatever you're looking for, you just take a moment and say, this is what I'm looking for.
Right.
This is how you target. It could be anything. It could be a profile on the floor.
Repeat the question, please.
Well, it's a question and comment, and it clarified for this gentleman that when you're looking for something, you have to clear in your mind, I think I'm going to paraphrase this right, that this is what you're looking for, whether it's a Coke bottle or a water vein or a lost person. It doesn't matter. I was saying before, I think, that I said to the last group, I said, okay, as the target, because I wasn't sure we should run around in the church here, let's use the back of the chair and push in to the field area or the back of the field area. And the woman said, well, that doesn't have any, whatever she was trying to say, emanation, and I said, well, but it does, because our target at this point is the back of the chair. And it doesn't have to be alive, and it doesn't have to be moving water, and it doesn't have to be. It has to be what we're looking for. And she, apparently in her mindset, that it had to be something alive or animate, or I don't know what she had in her mind. But, if the chair is what I want to find, that's what I'm looking for. It doesn't matter what it is. So the chair becomes the target. When I get into the target, I get the reaction. Does that help a little, sir?
You'll notice in paragraph spins is handling fast. Whether you looked at it? That might be his way of whatever you just call it.
Yeah, mindset.
Mindset,
Yeah.
focus.
The question is, I asked Terry and who's spinning the pendulum, do I think that he looks at it? I don't think he looks at it at all. I don't think that the pendulum has got anything to do where he in particular is getting his information at this state in the game. He has explained to me that a lot of it just comes in a knowledge point.
You guys just decide.
He's been doing it a long time. He writes, you see his articles in the journal, sometimes they're pretty deep, but he really knows what's going on. There's a lot of people up here that are like that. You start telling them, and they have a lot more information than you think they would. Some of them get it in different forms. Like I said, there are some of them around here that you can tell them about a property, and from the information they have fed back to me, it's like they're there. They've seen it. Like, well, I want to describe it. I'm not sure because I've never really asked them, some of them. But it seems to me that they almost have either the same view you have of it, or maybe even an aerial view of the whole layout.
It's almost like a whole thing. You give them a little piece of it, and they seem to have the whole.
Yeah. The comment is to be like the hologram theory, and give them a piece of it and you get the whole thing. Anything else? Sorry.
People in psychometry, if you gave them, let's say, a handkerchief of a person that belonged to it, they instantly visualize the person, describe it to you, where they live, and it's probably
The comment is in psychometry. That's when you hold an object and you derive information from it. A lot of them see the people and the locations and things like that. To me, that's nothing more than dowsing. They're dowsing. And they're asking themselves questions while they're holding this. Who does this handkerchief belong to? It's an advanced stage. It's a little beyond yes and no. It's a whole visual picture. But I think it's an advanced form of dowsing. So
they don't even ask. It just flashes right through them.
but I think, well, they've got to know. I mean, they don't have. It's like the old master dowser. When he goes out to do your well, he doesn't have to sit there and think, I need more than 3 gallons a minute at an economically feasible depth. in a decent location, not polluted, that'll run all year round. I mean, there's a whole list of things that you want when you do a well, right? Okay, but he doesn't think about that, because he just knows. He knows that's what he needs. Now, whereas if I go out and do it, because I don't have a lot of well experience at this point, I got to get the piece of paper out that says all these things. Now, it's got to be someplace we can get the machine in, and it's got to be enough water for this family, and it's got to be hopefully not polluted, and it's got to be, and it's got to be, and it's got to be. I got to look at the cheat sheet. But when you're doing it all your life, you just know I need water for this property, and they go to the good one, and they'll pass up all the bad ones, and they'll end up with the best one of the bunch, usually.
Anchored to their
Yeah, it's in their, as Ted said, it's anchored in their mindset. Thanks. Or programmed in. They know. So when it's no different to me. I look at all these things as doubting. You look at anybody who does anything that's quote unquote psychic, and I think the first step for all of them was some form of dowsing, whether they were called a dowsing or not. A lot of them were pendulum swingers. And then, you know, in the beginning, if you really do look into it, a lot of people were exposed to pendulum swinging and didn't know that it was dowsing. But it is dowsing. It's all dowsing. The Ouija board is dowsing. You're dowsing the letters one at a time. Or the yeses and the nos, if you think about it. A Ouija board is nothing different than a pendulum probe, to me. It's all the same. It's just that as you progress along, and then there's people that instantly can douse. I could instantly, once somebody showed me, what time does it say? Ooh. So I will tell you this to take a point. When I came here, I hope this will illustrate something. When we came here, I did not really know if I could douse. I had read pendulum books and swung pendulums around trying to get, and ate up bell rods out of swing hangers. But I didn't know if I could do this or not. And we came the night before the school. It was up in the town hall. All 70 was up there running it. All the stuff was on the table. We were looking at everything. There was, we were looking at the plastic fork sticks, the wire rods. And Paul spoke, where are you from? Or are you dousers? No, we came to learn here in school. Oh, great. He was looking at everything. He says, go ahead, you try whatever you want, And we'll show you how to hold that. So he takes a wire rod, fork stick, and he says, here, this is the search position. This is how you hold it. Okay, gives it to me. Now, you can go find the spot. If you go into the town hall and go to the left end, Paul used to always kind of stand years ago on the left side, and we had the money box and all that, as I remember. He had the wire rods all down there. And I'm standing there, and he says, well, here, you hold it. Now, I tried to hold onto a wire rod, and this thing, me and it got into a wrestling match. I could not hold this thing still, and I don't know why. Didn't know why. Could not put it in the search position as he had showed me. So he's looking, and he's showing me, here's how you hold it, Give it back to me, and this wrestling match. So, my wife said the look on my face was really good, because I'm here with this simple little piece of plastic having a wrestling match. And then suddenly Paul 70 says, I know the problem. Take a step backwards. Step backwards. Now, and he was still. He says, you were standing right on top of one of the water vanes here that we always use. We're showing people a tested instrument. And he says, go ahead, I take a step up, bang, and goes down. This is the first time I knew that I could douse. The night before the school. And he says, pick it up again, walk on across in front of the table, and about 10 feet away, there's another rubbing one that they always use for that. And I go up there, bang, it goes down. He says, see, you can douse it. And that's how I went. And besides the kill time, I don't remember why I started. But, Sarah.
Can someone else control your dowsing tool?
The question is, can someone else control your dowsing tool? I would say not exactly in the way you're probably implying.
Referring to an article previously.
I think, my opinion is that the only thing that can get you into trouble, we're a little bit off of device list, but this matters in dowsing, so I'll tell you. Everybody familiar with what thought form is? It is exactly what it sounds like. It's something you think of, it's a thought that has substance. I think that whenever somebody thinks of something, that it becomes real. It is real, it exists, and I think that you can find these things. And real quickly, a little game that we play as a demonstration to prove this is typically we'll get a group together, we'll have somebody in, say, in this aisle, and I'll ask one person to say, would you erect a wall of blocks somewhere in this aisle, like the pyramids, big ones, you know. So, and then usually somebody will go out of the room, I'll go out of the room, whatever, and then we'll come back. And as long as there's no jokers, only one. You know, try to get a group. Usually a good group like this, you'll only get one, except for once in a while there's a joker. And the dowser will be able to come along and go to the spot they built the wall. Okay, so now, if you want to try it, we can try. And I call that the wall. It's not original. Other people do it. 9 times out of 10, I go right to the spot. I've done this where I'll go to a spot and I won't be sure. All I do is look around the room that I've ridden ear to ear. And I know that's the joke, and put one there too. And then you go along and you find it. Now, there's something, and you can try this yourselves. You want to try it here? We got a couple minutes. We can do it. That somebody thought of and you're able to find. So now I translate that into if somebody wants something bad, be it the person dousing it or the person you're dousing it for, it's real possible that they're thinking about this so hard that they put so much energy into this thing that they're thinking about. And let's say, you know, they'd like to have a well on their property, and they'd like to have it behind the garage so nobody will see that casing sticking up out of the ground. And, you know, then maybe they'll plant a bush or two around it. So they put a lot of energy into thinking about all this. It'd be great if it was over there. Well, one of the problems is there's no way to get the truck behind the garage. And everybody's seen a low-rolling road? It's a big thing, okay? But they're really intent on, gee, it'd be great if this was behind the garage. Now you get some poor unsuspecting dowser just come from school in Danville, and now he's an expert water dowser after he comes home for the first time dousing. And he goes, where's he end up? He ends up right behind the garage. And, oh yeah, this thing's got 40, 50 gallons a minute, and it wasn't real deep, you know? So it would be real cheap to drill, because that's what the guy wanted. He goes right to the spot. Because they put so much energy into that, and because he wasn't careful. And you can usually avoid all that by saying to yourself, I don't want to find any of these thoughts or dry, you know, ghost, well, there's ghost veins that used to run or run part-time in the year. Sometimes people get attracted to them and stuff like that. But, you know, you say to yourself, and this is something you learn with experience and by talking to everybody, that you've got to have a clear picture of what you want. You don't want any of these things that, you know, are the result of people's wants and desires. You want to try to get out your opinion, you know, because there are times when I think we were playing with the wall demonstration in the school, and we were between 2 fences on somebody's front lawn, and I said to them, please don't jam it up against the fence because it's, you know, I got to start someplace, and there's enough of a span that you can put it out there. And they call me from around the front of the building, and the woman says, you got to move back more. So right there, she inputted to me that it's going to be close to where I'm starting now. Okay? She gave me that input, and that was bad, because there was no way I could avoid that input. She put it in my head, you know, it's there now. Whether consciously or subconsciously, I started to get something as I stepped out my first step. And I kind of knew something's not right here. So I walked it up and back twice, and she said, you know, at one point, another step or two, I hesitated, see, because all this input, and I'll say the words, I don't want to say it, the thought projection of it, you know, and I came back, and she said, well, you had it where you hesitated. When you first stepped off, that wasn't it, but I hesitated here. Now I wasn't sure, because, you know, they set me up, and they gave me this bad input, and I was paying attention to it. So, absolutely, I think you can influence. Does that answer your question?
The article was that someone had just discovered water leak, and the person that was showing them how to do this told them to try it again. The second time he got no reaction. He told them it was because he had told you around after the end.
I don't know.
This was an article report.
Well, just just because it's written doesn't mean it's true. Okay, and for the tape, the comment was a story in the Quarterly about somebody found the vein, and then the second time they were told to go again, and then they couldn't find it, and it is supposedly because the other party was saying projecting will not be able to find it. You know, I don't know. Anything's possible. The question in my mind, I haven't read this apparently, I don't remember reading it, is the vein really there to begin with? Or is the first shot one that's projected, that is projected? See, now we're getting into the real gray area here, because there are people that are into this, and there are people that are not. I fully believe that if you project an object, if you think about it, it is Gaussian. Does someone want to try this? We have a few minutes. You want to try it? Are you with that fair Gaussian? No, then you can't try it. Who thinks of themselves as a good Gaussian? Who's going to volunteer? Okay. Okay. I don't want to be the one caught in finding this time.
You're going to make it?
Yeah. If you want to walk up this aisle to find the water vein, I find if you find the water veins that are here, and after you do that, you find the water veins. This is how I do it. I'll walk the area and say, give me all the water veins. So now I'll input it to myself where they are, water veins. And I'll say to myself, now I don't want to find any of the water veins. Okay? So if you want to do that, and while you go do that, I'm going to put, when you get up to the other end,
Okay, so you want me to find the water veins on the way out?
just for yourself. We're a little off the subject, but does anybody mind?
No.
Okay. Because really, there's only so much that I have on this, and I don't mind doing this. Okay. And when she gets to the other end, no jokers, please. Okay. I put a wall somewhere down that path. So take a deep breath and concentrate and walk it, and then let me know what you think.
Okay, and I'm not finding water veins on the way back home, ignoring those.
You don't want the water veins. You want the wall that I projected, my mental image of the wall. I'll tell you this, it's big pyramid blocks, so you won't have any trouble with it. Heavy ones, big ones. Keep going. Just when you get all done, there's only one. You've got three.
Yeah, that's
Try
But
again.
also somewhere similar to the water.
Well, in my opinion, water veins are very powerful things, and you're apt to go to a water vein. You know, you really have to focus. You say to yourself, I don't want to detect any water veins. Okay, I'll give you one more chance. It's really hard sometimes to not go to a water vein. Yeah, I mean, say to yourself, I only want an indication when I get to the wall that Alan constructed. Yeah, okay. Okay, now stop. Now you got it. Yeah. Right, I put it right in front of the briefcase here.
Now make sure you take it away.
I did. Okay, now. Candy, right? One second. Candy, the first time, didn't come close. And I didn't say anything because I know that it's really hard to not go to a water vein. You really have to be focused on your intent. You really have to have yourself clear. And I don't know if you've ever said to yourself that I don't want to get any water veins. Well, maybe you've never done that before. Okay, so you really have to teach yourself to turn something on and off. It's part of the learning process. See, and that's why I say keep going and let you get all the garbage out of the way. And then the second time you got no reactions until you got to that spot. So you found the place that I was thinking about. And in that respect, that seems, I don't know about whether you could actually really influence what's going on. Influence someone's reaction past putting something there that's not. I'm not sure, You know, I'm not sure that you could turn something that off that is really there.
In my first lesson, my teacher had the 3 students, instructed them to put up the wall and he found it.
Well, no, it doesn't matter, you know, I just didn't want to, if I couldn't find it, I didn't want to, you know. No. I want somebody else to do it because, you know, I banged into enough of them. And if you put something there, you should always take it away because they say in time these things with not a lot of purpose will dissipate. But it's if you try it yourself, you'll find out that these things are there. So there was a question over here.
It's not so much a question as a comment, because when you start dowsing for ancient chambers or ancient monuments, if people have gone around and thought they found something, that thought form stays there and you will douse it. And you've got to be very careful and sort of clear yourself, saying you don't want other people's thought forms. You want the original thing that's there, and then start dowsing.
I think that may be the case, so I'm not going to repeat that. Did everybody sort of hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Question way in the back?
On your mindset, I find that when I am looking for something and I ask and I set my mind to it, I have a problem that my wife gets embarrassed because I don't stop it. It's like I will pick up coins all the way until I say no more, because she's ashamed when I pick up pennies and things.
The comment is, the gentleman saying that, I don't know how to paraphrase that.
I did that with him for a whole week, right? I wasn't ashamed.
The comment is that, I'm lost.
I'll phrase it again.
Go.
When you ask your mind, I'm looking for coins or something lucrative, and what I do is when I see something like I got groceries and I see a coin, in order not to get reprogrammed, because I'll forget it if I don't pick it up, I say, excuse me, I can't pick you up. And then it stays there. But if I don't say anything, then I got to reprogram.
So you're saying you can go back to that at another time?
Yeah, it stays with me until, because it's always searching until I see it and then I don't pick it up. Then I have to reprogram.
Okay. The gentleman saying that if he's programmed to find things.
Right.
But if something interferes with that.
No.
With recovering.
If I don't pick it up, I program myself, I'm looking for some coins or anything lucrative. Now I got 2 arms full of groceries and I see a coin and I go right by, I got to say, excuse me, I can't pick you up. That way it stays. If I don't say anything, I got to reprogram.
Okay, now I got it. The gentleman is programmed to search for coins,
right,
but he can't pick it up. I got to get this on the tape somehow. He can't pick it up because his arms are full of packages.
Right.
You will give yourself a mental note.
No, I repeat it to my mind, I cannot pick you up.
Okay.
That's it.
He puts in that he can't pick it up at this time, so that it doesn't bond, you know, mess up the rest of the program.
Right.
Okay, I got it. A little question. Okay, some more. We talked about the wire rod, we talked about the pendulum. We talked about, Another thing I want to say. You'll see a lot of people already doing these things when they work around people's energy fields for whatever reason they're doing that, which we won't get into here. And a lot of those people will talk about they'll get hot and cold. Okay, that's the same thing, and that's just another technique. Like I said, there are many techniques. There is a technique some people are familiar with, is muscle testing, where they'll link their fingers together like a chain link, and they'll ask their questions, and when they get the reaction, one link breaks, gets weak. That's a muscle testing thing, and there's a million variations of that. That's almost cheating because you're using a device. Another one that I have, another I have is, I found that if I hold my hand down at the side, and somehow I got into sticking my finger out, but it started from mimicking swinging a physical pendulum. Swinging in neutral position, down by my side. My neutral is just up and back, just motion, and I look for the yeses in clockwise generally. I'm not telling you, I said to you before, I usually don't look for no's. I'm not telling you that sometimes that I do get a no in anti-clockwise, but that's usually because something is not right. I'm trying to tell myself that something is absolutely not right here. And that can mean anything from you shouldn't be doing this, or you're asking stupid questions, or you should be using your common sense and not doubting for this, you know, like, where is something when you should use your eyes first before you should go and douse for it. You know, there's always common sense. And I got into, or just hang my arm down, and I'll just neutral swing the end of my finger a little bit. And then when it's yes, my finger goes around. And that grew out of holding yes. There's another technique that is a little bit of a cheat. Have you seen rubbing plate techniques? Well, that's fingers, or rubbing plate techniques can be in a lot of different ways. You rub a smooth surface is one, and as long as you keep moving, you're fine. And when you get to a yes, your finger, like the brakes go on, you get a little stick or a little skid. You can also do that by rubbing two of your fingers together. They're moving, and then they drag. There's a little resistance here, and that's a yes. It can be anything. I don't know. I really encourage you to take your favorite instrument or your favorite method and see if you can adopt it into where you just mimic it somehow or think about it. And then I also encourage you, when you are using your instruments, to take a second and don't look at your instrument. Don't be visual. Say to yourself inside, okay, what's going on inside? And survey your whole system and see if you can find something, twitch, feeling, anything, anywhere. And if you look, you won't find them. It could be in your big toe, or you know, your ear might wiggle, I don't know. But it'll be somewhere, and that'll be your reaction. And then I think if you get comfortable with it, you can also train yourself for any reaction that you want. Once you get to the point. Question?
The only way that I have tried out devices was that I have taken my L rod, found earth energies, marked them out on the ground, moved a distance away, closed my eyes, and backed up until I felt I should stop. I cannot describe the feeling. I get something tells me to stop. At the same point.
Yeah, that's, you know, did everybody hear that? Jonah said, working with earth energies, he has found them with L rods and marked them, and then closed his eyes and from a distance, and then
backed up until I get a feeling of stop.
And then you're saying backed up, but I'm going to change that to you walk into the field, and with his eyes closed until he felt it was the time to stop, and X marks the spot usually. Right. So, you know, you have to find out how this works for you. And go. Question.
I've noticed a lot of times anymore, I get what I call my intuition or my premonition or my this, and most of the times
Same thing. I'd say that's what we're all working with. The gentleman said that, he gets mind messages or intuition. And I think that when I walk up to the vein and that little message comes, here it comes, I think that's what that is. I think, yeah. Yeah, no, it doesn't have to be tingling. It can be the message, it can be the feeling, it can be the twitch, it can be the hot, the cold, in the back.
Yes, the most important would be eye dousing. Wherever your eye would stop would usually be the place. So if you start practicing with this, when you know there's no vein, you'll find it will come right to where they're at. Or any type of thing. Eye is very important. If you start noticing, because we're always dousing with our eyes.
The comment is that you can eye douse. If you look over the spot and your eyes stop on a spot, that'll probably be the spot. And you can practice that with the spot. There's another one. Like I said before, there's a lot of methods. What experienced and how I got started in doing this. And again, I'll tell you, I really feel that if you pay attention to this, it will make you a better counselor. It will heighten your awareness in general. And if you're trying to do other things and perceive messages and whatever on other levels, I think this is a real good way to sharpen this skill. Because if you work at it, it'll come. You know? Like I said, there are some people that these grander things come instantly to. But, you know, for the rest of us, we have to work up to it. And, you know, I've been working on this since like about 78 or not. And like I said, I have gotten glimpses of full visual things with sensation and some knowledge of what's going on in the picture that I'm looking at. So, but you know, I think it takes, you know, you've got to use this to hone it. I think we all have this ability, and it's dormant because we don't use it for anything. And I don't think there's anybody who shouldn't be able to teach the doubts unless there's something so deeply implanted in their either conscious or subconscious that, you know, it's just going to take a lot of time. There are those few people, like I said, my friends say this comes from, you know, where it should, and they believe that. But I don't believe that. I believe exactly the opposite. I believe that it comes from, you know, that it's something that we all are supposed to do. Any other comments? We've got a couple minutes. In the back.
I had an incident where there was a metal detectorist going, and he didn't know what he was doing. And I cut him off, and I asked if it was okay for me to show you how to do it. So I showed him. It took me half an hour. When he started to speak, he had a voice box put in. That's why he did it. So then he says, well, where can I go? So I did it automatically, not even knowing I was dowsing. I said, now where can you go to find something lucrative? And I did the eye, and I says, over there, about 100 yards where the stick is near the water. And that was the end of it. Half an hour later, he taps me on the back, and he got a big gold ring with a diamond.
The gentleman's comment is that he was watching someone with a metal detector not doing real well, and he wanted to help him out, and so he gave him a little instruction in that, and then the gentleman asked, well, where can I go to do better? And instinctively, he looked to a place and said, well, there's a good place for you. And he sent him there, and then the other party was successful with their metal detector. I hope they did a good job of power.
He
said the gentleman found a ring, a nice ring.
A big one.
A big one, he says. A big one. Gotta have the big ones. Any other questions? Okay, they would also have me ask you to please fill out an evaluation sheet. You will notice that I have circled all the good, excellence, and appropriates already for you.
Did you?
Questions? Sheets. Yeah, there are. I think there's a bunch in the back and there's a bunch right here. Thank you for all coming.
You're catching it from me? I remember.
So I hope that helps. Yeah, well, my subject is it's a basic subject with an advanced knowledge. I think we should look on the schedule and see if there's something today talking about basic order.
Yeah, there is.
go see Greg and see how he can help. Great. He's a past president of this organization. He's a very well doused. Go ahead. How's it? How'd they do? Oh, I appreciate you coming, dude. Well, you had all this for me before here. This one, it's better.
But you have to realize
Thank
you're
you.
expanding.
You wanted to ask me? Yeah. I have some experience with one company. And I have one question on the 10-foot pole. No, I'll tell you why. A friend of mine got into this, first off with the cows. The personal alarm. Had a lot of defective alarm. Okay. And then he put a lot of the car alarms. You familiar with the car alarm? They had a house alarm, you got into. Okay, see, they started their second wave on this thing. He put in 6 or I know. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just telling you that he has experience with the company. He put in over a half a dozen of the alarms. Every one of them went bad. Okay, these trucks. No, the car alarm. They had a car alarm. It was a good theory and all. They set replacements. Most of them were bad. Okay? And one of the trucks was robbed of a lot of equipment. And you know, it's a pretty big company, they say down our way. And now they want to know the alarm didn't even go off. And now there's like, you know, there's people pointing fingers about who's liable for all the stolen equipment. Yeah. And these guys, they were done. They gave new ones were done. Okay, so I wasn't impressed with the quality of the work. That's not the new one. Third one, I don't think you're going to stop somebody from stealing.
You're just trying to find it out.
In fact, I know that. If somebody who's a professional wants your car, it's gone. I don't care. You can chain it to a bulldog. They're going to take it on. Okay? If amateurs are going to try to steal your car, maybe it'll discourage. But if a pro is going to steal your car, no matter what you do. Even when a guy with a gun in your car, they're going to take your car. So that's why I have insurance. They can have it. I don't want to discourage you. I was not impressed with the company and the product. It's all over the shoe now. So just be careful.
It's has a very between the ones that are. Two of them went out in bad spots.
That was a zone protection on your vehicle.
I kept it.
That was a zone of protection around his vehicle.
See, you've had problems already. Really negative.
They've been very cooperative and fast. And the reason I asked you if I could speak to you about it was that.
Maybe I started to attack you when I
I understand.
I hate track products.
So far, the product isn't so crappy, but the guy that put it in didn't apparently follow their directions. I'm getting more coverage. I'm blowing this fuse. It's the same one each time. And I've already contacted somebody. Put a lot of it.
And the guy in Jersey says he doesn't have a problem. What is the guy who put it? What did he put it across?
It's in the starter set, the one that's blowing. I checked it with an ohm meter. It's always the same one. This one my fingernail lie.
Right.
And this one.
Yeah.
There's a dead spot between them. What I want to ask you was, can you tell me which circuit is supposed to be? 5,000 is supposed to be. So that I can, there.
I said before, I don't always douse the car because if you're blowing the fuse in there, my guess is he's got it right in the wire that is tripping the solenoid on the
suppose it go over 9 amps,
Okay.
or it'll blow.
There should be a relay answer. Did the guy use a relay?
I can't tell, I don't know.
See, if he just got the wire and put this as a switch, that's all that is a switch.
Yes.
That's a contact on a switch.
Right.
In other words, so you have your key is a switch. And when you get to that last spring position, your moment, for as long as you hold the key, your settings used to the star. Okay? That wire draws a fair amount of current. Usually on an alarm system that cuts the ignition off, they'll put a relay in, which is another switch. But only a relay is an electromagnet switch. Remember?
Yes.
Okay. Usually what they're doing is they're letting the ignition key circuit trip the relay, which is very low amperage, and the relay is a very heavy switch. So if the guy just wired it incorrectly,
That's what I think.
that's what he did. And all he needs to do is put a little 4-prong relay in. They cost $10. I mean, it's really, they even cost less than that. But,
Can you tell me if you did it or not? My car sits right in the back there.
you have to look and see where they got wired and things. My gut, when I ask me to guess that, my gut reaction would be, I bet you it's no relay.
Without dowsing it, that's what I thought it might be. And by phone, they told me that's quite possible that happened. And I thought, boy, here's a perfect
See,
combination.
I can't believe there's a fuse in there.
Well, the wire is very thin, like a fuse.
Yeah. You've only metered that whole plug.
Yes.
Do only 2 of them make contact out of the whole plug?
No, all of them make contact with each other.
In other words, if I unmetered this,
This one contacts that. This one contacts that, and ditto for these 4.
so each there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are paired twos.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know would any other of them go anywhere, or is it just the 2?
No, they all go someplace.
They all are turning things off.
And consequently, there's 126 combinations that can be made. If a thief goes in, cuts all the wires and says, I'm going to put them together until I get them to work.
Yeah,
Which will take quite a long while.
that's what they would like you to believe. See, there's a box. There's a box that you can make for $20, that you can buy for a little more, that you cut all those wires, you open the hood, you put the clips from this box close to the battery,
And it does it.
and you put the wire over to the distributor, if the car has a distributor, and away you go.
Shit.
So that's what I'm telling you, that, it's nice to have an alarm on. My advice to most people is, get a mid-price alarm that makes a lot of noise. And that will stop the amateurs from maybe stealing some of your shit. They might break the window and get some of your stuff, but they'll probably go away before they do a whole lot more damage. That's my theory.
I have a very heavy chain, kind of hold load on a truck with it, that you can't cut with one of these.
Right.
And a real super lock. I welded rings on the frame. I go around my apartment house, which is down 4 foot in cement. I hold it there at night. I have a steering wheel that I take off at night.
And you have that removable window.
Yeah, so they'll see that that's not there, and they might.
How many cars have you lost? And what level of protection did any of those have?
Oh, full insurance.
No, I mean an alarm or no
Oh,
alarm.
no alarm on the first one.
Yeah.
And on the second one, I didn't have anything except an alarm. And an alarm is worthless because
Nobody even looks.
in Florida, everybody likes to set their alarm off to show that they have an alarm. So nobody pays any attention.
What kind of car do you have?
This one is an 85 Regal. I like the design. And I keep it in good shape. And I'm not going to lose it again. And I have this. That's top on the list.
Yeah. Well, I'm not so much in the market cars anymore. That's like the old Cutlasses, I guess.
Well, the blacks like it because the parts are interchangeable. They can make more money when they steal it. And the other ones.
Like I told you before, they don't.
That's true. The cops stopped them where I live in Fort Lauderdale, in our area, because they caught them. They were kids. Everybody thought they were.
They're good at it, because they've done so many.
Yeah, they did a good job online.
See, a GM car, all you have, most GM cars, I can be in a GM car before you can get your teeth out of your pocket. Okay? which is, I forget what, I haven't done one in a long time. If it isn't plastic, it's hot on the side of the steering column. The rod in there, which goes from the key lock, the switch mechanism that runs everything is on the side of the steering column. I don't know if I remember right, I do most of the influence now. And then the steering wheel has a lock, but to get that, all they do is you bend the wheel, and then the lock tanks no longer engage. So you watch one of these guys, they can be in your car and driving down the street in less than 30 seconds. Because they've done so many of them and they know exactly where to bang. And they know where to hit. So one of the best things you can do is to, in my opinion, under the hood, you have to have somebody put a relay. And it stops the ignition. So even if they do get the switch here, out under the hood, you're having a relay break the circuit to the starter. Okay? And you can also put a relay in that sends juice to the ignition. Not do it under the hood. And the only other best advice I have is
Can't they circumvent the relay?
lock. Well, they have to get into what controls it. See, now if I was going to do that, I put in a remote control alarm, mount everything under the hood. Okay? The control box. And I'm not so much interested in the alarm and the siren. I'm interested in the remote control aspect of being able to trip the relay remote control. So I don't care if it makes noise. I mean, that's, like I say, don't even, oh, there's another one. They don't even know that. Right? Okay, so you have a relay strip, or one relay with two sets of contacts. You have it interrupt the wire to the starter in the engine compartment. Okay, and you also have it interrupt the wire going to the ignition in the engine compartment. Okay, so that means that from the cockpit, they cannot get the car to start. And because your alarm unit, you get it mounted, now sometimes it's a problem because you got to put these things out of the weather and out of the heat and everything. You know, so you got to be creative sometimes. You put the alarm module, you put everything under the hood, and then you got to find a way to lock the hood securely with a good locking mechanism that is not done from in the car. Because if they make these cable locks, so all you do is you go behind, it's not my car, I go, bam, the plastic under the dash is on, and I take my cutters and I cut the cable out of the locking control center. So the locking control, it stops a real amateur. But it does, you know what I mean? Anything you can put in, I can tell you how to get around it in a couple of seconds.
What kind of a lock do you recommend then?
Well, I don't know what you should use, but if you can then put a decent lock on your hood somehow, even a 100 chain, get somebody to weld it, I don't know, because, you're going to slow them down. If they pop the hood and they see that there's a big old chain, no matter how big the chain is, you're only attaching it to the sheet metal of the car. So you are limited. You're going to slow them down. You just might slow them down enough. By that time, though, they've broken your windsets. They've broken
the car.
They've done your steering column, right?
$5,000 worth of damage to the car.
Well, did you get one of your cars back?
What do you have the second one?
Yeah, the steering column was all bugged up.
This is the second one.
Yeah, they did the steering column, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
They came in through the trunk and broke through the back seat.
Oh, that's creative.
Yeah, that's easy.
Well, see, I want to stop from getting the car started. But some of these guys, they have Brett's balls. They're just going to flat that thing up there.
Well, see, that's the reason I chained it to the building.
I mean, like I said, if they want it, man, I've no repo with that. That say, man, they're authorized. But, a lot of people get nasty when you try to resist the car. They said, we don't care. We'll go out there, we'll drag right up on the flatbed, we'll be going down the street with the alarm off. Nobody even asked them why. They said they get blocked two away so the guy with the gun doesn't come out to get them, and they'll pop the hood and they'll cut the alarm wires, But, I've seen, and I've almost demonstrated to people, they get all this alarm. I say, look, I'm going to go into your car, I'm going to go through the motion, I'm going to pop the hood, and, but I'm not going to do it. And, 35 seconds will go by. I'm in the car, the hood's open, I've got the alarm, and I've got the alarm wires. Who cares? Nobody even wants, everybody's reaction is odd. So, that's another reason why I'm not. Even if that thing worked great, I could care less. I want your car if I got it. You can change it to the building. If I wanted your car, if I was, a lot of these guys aren't smart. But I was going to say, I should be a car thief because if you change your car to the building, I'll come around and see you change the building. I want your car. I'll come on and make a tour.
All right.
It'll take you 5 seconds to
I've taken up much more of your time than I asked you for, but I got one more question. each time they sent me more, you know.
More keys?
More keys. And I contacted somebody to do the job when I get back. And now I realize that there is a device that a thief can use to start this without a key. Now, what I want is that device. So if my keys screw up, I will be able to run my car. Can you tell me where to get it?
I'd have to teach you how to use it. It's called substitute ignition. You go to almost a good parts store, sometimes they have.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll pay you your rate, whatever it is, and I'm not far from Philadelphia.
If you know which contacts on this are no good,
You have to, first one by the post, before that. Between those two is a thin wire, which is melted somehow.
did you open one of these up and take a look?
No, you told me that, that's the case, those two. And I told them what readings I got on the ohm meter when I went through this. And those two are on zero.
That you've got.
And the other key moved the same place. So I figured it's that system. It's at the bottom of the steering column to the starter. And he hasn't put the extra relay that he should have put in.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. What's this one?
I opens my doors and sets the alarm.
Yeah, see, you could have had this alarm. This is a 2-channel alarm. When you lock the doors, you could have had to put a relay in the door lock. Add it to this alarm very easy. A relay to cut the ignition off. Out under the hood.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And the doors.
Well, I'm just saying, this is a 2-channel alarm. When this alarm works, there's probably an option on this alarm.
So we have 2 cars, you can use them.
Oh, is it? Okay. Because sometimes there are 2 channels in this alarm where the alarm will do 2 different things. In other words, where this alarm's the alarm, but I can unlock the doors with the other button. See, a lot of these alarms have options that where you can wire a relay in to kill the ignition, which is simply a matter of installing, hooking 2 wires to the alarm control box and then getting the starter wire and hooking it to the relay. In and out of the relay. You just need a good installer.
Well, I hope the guy I'm going to is good. He specializes in car phones and all kinds of electronic things.
See, the guy, I'll bet the guy who did this quorum thing is the guy who got into the quorum and then started installing it properly. Was he mechanic? Well, there's lots of it. There's most.
You see, Florida is foolish. The worst.
Oh yeah, they come down because the old people don't know, they freeze the hell out.
It's terrible.
It's hunting season down all the time.
It's good for me because of the climate. But outside of that, it's terrible.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of ways. This quorum company, I don't have anything against a good multi-level company, but they get these people, and hey, it's a wonderful idea. And you get these people all revved up, and then some of them start installing them themselves, and, they gain a little experience after they butcher up a few of them. But, you need a good installer to do this shit right now.
This guy wanted me to put a thing around my steering column. It's like a piece of armor. And it conforms with the shape of the column. And I said, it's good. When you wrecks that, I got to put a whole steering column in.
They want them, they get them, unfortunately. It shouldn't be that way. I wish it wasn't that way.
I'm not young anymore. I'm very nervous.
Yeah.
And to be nervous about losing your car all the time when you're out is no fun.
Yeah.
Can I buy you lunch?
Sure.
I don't know where to go, but let's go.
You've been up here before?
Pardon?
You've been up here before?
Many years.
Yeah, your face is not,
I saw you before. I listened to you before.
I hope they filled out some of these forms. Not the matters to me, I know what you could produce. I hope so. I hope you put it in the top. I more or less want them just to do it because, they should do it. Did you think it was a good talk?
Yeah.
Oh, good, I hope so. We get a little off the subject, but I guess everybody does.
For the first time, I graded you guys when you spoke on a 1 to 9 thing. And then
I get little spots of